that's working. It's supposed to be working. Okay, you just came on.
I know.
Here.
He just wants to see me walk.
No, sir.
Well, the seat is just, it sets.
Garden.
Oh, in the back.
Not saying, I don't think the POA employees would not be included. Nick Jones said.
I think correct. But if I went. That'd be funny.
I didn't know you voted.
3 times. I'd probably tell him to put it back.
The plane was to crash.
Your plane not running or what?
It's just out of gas.
Yeah, but you see, we all need vote. We're saying to her, because she's on Western time, that she could do late afternoon Thursday.
That's right.
Yeah, so it won't affect us. You get 9 or 10 o'clock. So we got a little bit more.
We don't need
We're gonna get the envelopes.
No, to Wednesday. Everything's ready. Well, not ready, but ready to stuff, yes. I know.
I don't want to be head. You and
All right.
All right, I got 7 o'clock. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the September 9th, 2019 Heritage Lake Property Owners Association Board of Directors meeting. First thing we have are announcements. Clear Creek Conservancy, Dwayne Kelly, not in attendance yet. I think they're going to be back in business with us till probably September. Floyd Township Fire Department, Brian Irvin. No, Brian, Jeff, do you have any update from the fire
Yes,
department?
I do. I want to make everybody aware of a smoke detector program that we got grant money to do. We've actually taken some, delivered them out already as it is. All you have to do is let us know you need a smoke detector or you want them checked. If you need batteries replaced, you hand us the battery and we'll put them in. But we'll test your smoke detectors. They are supposed to be replaced every 10 years and tested twice a year. You always hear about the time change. The smoke detectors are free, installation is free, everything's free from the fire department. Just email info@Floyd Fire. That's our email address, info@floydfire.com, and just put smoke detector in the subject. Facebook, Floyd Township Volunteer Fire Department, same thing, put smoke detector in the subject. Or you can call 317-525-1963 and leave a text. Anybody can guess what you're supposed to put in the text line, smoke detector. Or you can call, somebody might answer, you never know. If not, just leave a voicemail and somebody will get back with you. We just need a phone number and name, and we can get a hold of you and we'll come back out. We'll come out and we'll take care of that for you at no charge.
Good.
The smoke detectors are not carbon monoxide detectors. Actually, the experts say carbon monoxide detectors should be 3 to 5 foot off the ground because carbon monoxide is about the same weight as air. And so if you don't have a fire, carbon monoxide could just be kind of floating around, but smoke, it normally goes up. The heat will rise it up. So that's our program.
Thank you, Jeff. Neighborhood Watch, does anybody have a report on behalf of Neighborhood Watch?
She didn't give me anything and I just texted her and she had this one.
Okay. I think they met this past month. Just kind of getting going, I'm sure. HLCS, Mr. Harold Payto.
Payto 189 Mill Spring. I gave a copy to each board member about my notice to relinquish my duties of the newsletter as well as the phone directory. The last highlights newsletter I will be responsible for publishing will be December issue. That will be printed on the 29th of November. And also there will not be a 2020 telephone directory printed or published by myself, but it could be somebody else. And I'm looking for someone at Heritage Lake that's interested in taking over these community projects. Just contact me, Harold Payto, and I've got my phone numbers listed in the highlights, and I'm in the phone directories, and I'm here in case somebody wants to know. I did have someone very interested, Rick Miller was very interested in taking over and has experience, so we just talked tonight. But I'm very encouraged, and so is he. And he wants to do something for the community, and I'm tired of doing it for the community. My family needs me today more than the community.
Harold, on
Thanks.
behalf of this board and behalf of the community, I would like to thank you for all the years and hard work that you've done. I don't think most people recognize what it takes to put those publications together. And it's been a great service. I think people here really appreciate it and depend on it and rely on it, and we owe you a lot of thank you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Don't read it and criticize the next editor. Don't make mistakes.
I'll take that to the bank, but I'm not sure if they're the ones.
Thank you, Harold.
You're welcome.
That doesn't let you off the hook for meetings for the rest of the year either. Expect to see you here. POA Security, Brian Homer.
No burglaries or thefts to report this time, so that's good. We've had a few disturbances and some domestic issues. Other than that, it's been fairly quiet. Lots of traffic stops for people to slow down here to drive. That's about it.
Busy season slowing down a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Helnap, Jan Salee.
Yes, I'm here. Jan Saleh, 65 Gettysburg. A couple of updates from Hellnack. First of all, to remind you of the garage sales going on this week. Downstairs, the campgrounds committee will be doing the garage sale part, and I'll be doing food, so come out for food again for lunches Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Our food sales will benefit both Putnam County Kids Count and Hellnack both. We have 2 events coming up in October. The first one is October 4th, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which will be held in this room. We promise you there will be lights on in case you do scare easily and want to come with children. We do invite families and kids 5 years of age and older. We will make them age-appropriate stories, not horribly scary stories, but stories for the season. The other thing, on October 26th is the Fall Fest that Hellnack will be doing in conjunction with Canaan Church, Canaan Community Church.
Thank you. Garden Club. Anybody from the Garden Club representing here? I know Linda Lawler's not been feeling well lately, so I didn't expect her here tonight, so. Okay. No report. Presentation of agenda. Any additions, corrections, changes? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Presentation of minutes, August 12th board meeting. Any additions, corrections, changes? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. August 12th executive meeting. Any additions, corrections, or changes? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then August 26th operations meeting. Any additions, changes, or corrections? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, guys. Treasurer's report, Jim Johnson.
Thanks, Chris. Our August total income was $106,395. Our expenses were $159,081, leaving a negative income balance of $52,686. Total income year-to-date is $1,117,334. Our expenses are $981,330, leaving a net income balance of $136,004. Our short-term cash, as the close of the month, is $564,638. Our total investments made up of CDs and money market checking accounts, $689,955. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Board committee reports, A&E, Ben Fuchs.
Ben Fuchs, 77 Gettysburg. August, the month of August, we approved 12 permits for 16 projects. 3 houses, 1,432 square feet, 1,859 square feet, and 2,200 square feet. 1 garage, 2 covered boat lifts, 2 decks, 4 docks, 3 fences, and 1 house addition.
Another busy month. Thank you, Ben. Campground. Got an issue with the campground. We are having a hard time getting reports. The committee lead wasn't really the committee lead that we were relying on. I know Ben has reached out several times to get an alternate, but haven't been very successful. So at this time, we don't have a report, but we will be working to try to fill that committee lead for us. Cleanup, Kurt Stoyer.
Kurt Stoyer, 17 Mill Springs. Garage sale signs are up. We have a clean sweep a week from Saturday, so it'll be the 21st from 8 to 2. And we can always use an extra hand for helping to unload cars and vehicles, etc. And our next meeting is this Wednesday at 7 o'clock, right here.
Thank you, Kurt. Government Committee. It's been brought to my attention that we now have an official Government Committee chair as voted on by the Government Committee members. So let me for the first time introduce the Government Committee chair, Dick Warner. Thank you, Dick.
Dick Warner, 183 Jefferson Valley. Just a few things to mention from the government. Back in the last month, there was 2 presentations, both at the council meeting and at the commissioners meeting, from an outfit called Beyond Homeless, nonprofit organization in Greencastle. And as I'm not too familiar with the history with Heritage Lake and a lot of things, I don't know if we already have any relationships, but Beyond Homeless is an organization that empowers the homeless to become self-sufficient. They shelter women and children, they have a thrift store, and they were at both of the meetings trying to get their word out, soliciting donations, both monetary and in kind. So if you have some professional abilities, they gladly accept people coming in to help coach the members that are living in the home. They can room up to 24 mothers and children. They currently don't have ability to house male homeless people. But they'd much rather people contact them if there's an at-risk person of becoming homeless, and they have a better chance of keeping them in their home rather than getting them into new homes. So if there's any of our committees that might, for instance, Clean Sweep, if there's things left over after the garage sales, those could be good donations to this organization. They rely heavily on all that kind of thing. So, Ken, do you happen to know, or do we have any relationship with them? Or?
No, we do not. The only relationship we have is with myself and Matt Demings, our chief deputy that's on the board.
Oh, okay.
I did speak with him a little bit later on after that meeting. A couple things I wanted to add was, one thing that they're really, really looking for is somebody that's real handy with kind of a handyman kind of thing. They really need somebody like that to help out. And then as far as, they do not house males, but they will put them up in a hotel for, I think, up to 48 hours. So.
The other next thing that came up was a presentation, again, at both the meetings by RIP/PC. Gun stand for Rest in Peace, Remove Invasive Plants. And there's a seminar September 27th at the Ivy Tech Conference Room space. Vanessa Fox is the contact. I have her phone number here. But they were presenting their ability to anybody in the community that wants to come and learn about it. And so I thought maybe your crew, possibly, if you want to send some people, or even the garden club might have some interest.
I thought about seeing if maybe someone like Sean wanted to go. I'm going to be on vacation. Phil McKinley may be a good one to go.
And I'll follow up with the commissioners next Monday. I'm still trying to get some further details of the whole Operation Life takeover. What that means, are they going to keep the same equipment, facilities, staff, all that. So next meeting is Thursday the 20th at 10 a.m.
Thank you, Dick.
Just to add for the audience, basically Operation Life is an independent service, and what is happening is Putnam County is going to take over Operation Life. So as long as everybody's familiar with that, you might want to attend some of the commissioners' meeting. When's the next one?
Monday morning at 9 a.m. at the courthouse.
Just to hear what's going on, because obviously that will affect our community. Because right now Operation Life services our community. So if Putnam County takes over the operation, it will be Putnam County that will be responsible for running Operation Life. I just want to make sure everybody understands that.
Thank you, Tom.
Chris?
Yeah.
Dick, what's the date of that invasive species?
The 27th.
And it's going to be where?
It's a Saturday at the Ivy Tech Conference Room. I have a flyer on it if you're...
I actually would.
Okay. Ivy Tech Conference Space, 9 to 2.
Okay.
That's a Saturday, I guess.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Lake Committee, Kent Hoops. Hey stranger, how you doing?
Hey,
Welcome back.
thank you. It'll be short, I'm sure. Kent Hoops, 150 Gettysburg. First and foremost, in my absence from committee meetings, I want to commend our committee for continuing the efforts to look after the best interests of the lake. So thank you for keeping driving forward. One of the things that have been discussed that you all have seen are the lights on the buoys. I think there's been, we had multiple types, or 2 types that were out. Some have been damaged, some have been sunk, some have been removed. But for the most part, I think they're working. I think they're meeting the criteria of what we anticipated. I think the damage to the buoys is still out there, but we're getting less damage than we've had in the past. So our committee is continuing on those efforts to work with Ken to put more lights on top of the buoys when we get new buoys or when they're placed or when we know the ones that are going to stay in or staying in, then we'll make the manpower to get out there and put the lights on them. We may wait until the spring because we don't know if we want to jeopardize the integrity of the lights staying out all winter and using up their life while the lake is obviously not being utilized. We've been working on the rules with the rule book for simplicity reasons. It's difficult when you get referred to a lake rule and you can't find it in the book, so we are revamping it yet again to try to find a little more systematic approach to the rules, and including on the front page or opening the front cover, we're anticipating a list of the most majority of the rules that are usually violated. So we'll put a list of those out there so people can flip to the opening page and see the 10 bullet point rules that we see that are getting abused the most. We supplied, I believe, in my absence, we supplied Tom Novak with a list of recommendations for fish stocking efforts that can be completed this fall. Basically 4,000 fish, red ear for the shell cracker of the snails, walleye, the predator fish for the shad, largemouth bass for predator fish for the shad, and hybrid striped bass for the predator fish, the shad. So we have, I think you have been supplied with, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I know that we had a budgeted item for those fish, and I wanted to make sure that we were on pace to continue those efforts, to continue the stocking efforts of our lake to try to keep our water quality and the fishery as healthy as we can make it. We're working with Ken at this point, and we'll be discussing it at our September 25th meeting, the need for more buoys. Ken approached us last year. We purchased 20 buoys, I believe, of which he said now we're 20 are damaged out of the lake, so he's probably going to be asking for more. And in the past, always that's something that we have elected to pursue in our interest, as the board has elected to pursue the fish stocking efforts. So our monies have been transferred from one to the other, but obviously our monies are going right back into the lake, nowhere else. We're trying to get a head start on Feast and Ski for 2020. We do have a volunteer who has stepped up to relieve my wife and myself some of our duties in our absence. We're also looking at a date change due to the fact that school is starting earlier and earlier every year. So we're looking at trying to parlay that into a larger event. One of the conversations that we have yet to vote on was maybe combining it with the fireworks and trying to do a 4th of July gala out here where it's just an all-day fun weekend for everybody. It seems to be a very crowded weekend out here at the lake, and we can make it fun for all, family friendly, and have a good time. So that's one of the options we're looking at. Let's see here. We're considering and looking into boater tests related to the infraction rules that we see. Some way to, when people register the boats, some way to make, you know, and Lois can tell you, every time someone comes to the marina to register a boat, when they sign that card to register their boat, they're basically saying they've read our rule book. What we're finding is people are not reading the rule book. And it's not the marina's employee's job to quiz them, but it could be the lake committee's job to quiz them. It could be some way for us to get involved maybe even an online effort where they have to answer 10 quick questions before they register their boat. Possibly having a little iPad set up at the marina. If you're here to register your boat, come here to the kiosk, punch in your lot number, answer these 10 questions, and then continue the process of, giving her your copy of your insurance, your POA card, and that kind of thing. Just trying to think of a way so that we don't see this, we don't get ourselves in a scenario where safety becomes an issue. We're one accident away from having a real problem here at the lake, and with 900 plus boats registered annually, the lake becomes very small on busy weekends. So just letting you know we're working on those. We're also considering dog decoys on the beaches for the geese. Lake Committee is obviously involved with the geese and the beaches, where we were involved with getting the scooper for the goose coop that you see the guys using every day. That was a recommendation from the Lake Committee to start that process and clean the beaches daily after we had an E. coli number that was rather large at the beach areas. So that's been years ago, but it's working. It's working.
Ken, were you in communication with Don Vogland about the dog decoys? Because I know he's got them set up.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I was not personally, but
Okay.
our committee members, Deb, and a
All right.
couple others, I believe, were. So we've got quite a bit of traction and quite a bit of information that's still going on. And our goal is to have you a list of rule recommendations and the rule book prior to the end of the year, so that we can have it printed in, I think March is February, right? You vote on it in December, and then it starts printing in February typically. But with Harold, not in the 2020 phone book, I don't know who will call to get the, just joking, Harold. So we'll be working on that, and then hopefully you'll have time to vote on it, analyze it, review it, make back and forth conversations before we're done for the season in October, November. So the other thing, since I don't see Phil here, I wanted to share with you that we are doing our fish survey and water quality information.
You want to read that?
Is that for Phil? All right, I'll read this. The water quality team decided to test water quality in the open waters of the lake at 3 locations. Previous tests had generally concentrated in the inlet streams, and the samples were submitted 8/14 of 19 to the Montgomery County Health Department, the same organization that did our testing last year. Both total coliform and E. coli bacteria were measured. Since many types of coliform bacteria are considered harmless to humans, standards for safe recreational waters are now normally based on E. coli only, as it is considered the best indicator for potential human health risk. Although the traditional standard in Indiana has been 235 parts per million, or counts per million, I guess. 235 counts per 100 million. The newer recommendation is an average of 126 or lower, with a single higher reading acceptable. So we went from a state of 235 counts per million to 126 counts per million. So the state has recognized the E. coli effort. Now they've dropped their standard testing, so to meet that E. coli, we have to be below 126. I'm pleased to announce that in the main body, we had no E. coli represented at the lake. In the North Fork, we had 3 counts per 100 milliliter, or 100 million. And in the East Fork, we had 1. So our efforts at the lake, our efforts with getting the word out about spraying your yards, all these things add up. The drainage when you have new construction, and the silt fences that we put up that were mandated by the A&E committee, all those things contribute to the health of our fishery, including the fish that we stock. So I think we're on par to continue to be a great lake if we can just keep the momentum going and the foot on the gas. So that's all we have. Any questions for the Lake Committee?
October 10th,
What's October 10th?
the survey of fish.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Our aquatic control is coming out Thursday, October 10th, to do the actual fish survey. shocking areas of the lake where we measure the fish. We're gonna get a baseline. We've had this done in the past. However, we've had it done in warm water, shallow water, in July and August. This year, we're doing it in October, so we can have a true baseline where we're getting the bigger fish that are going deep. During the summer, we couldn't get down to them with the shocking methods. So now we're gonna go into the colder water. The water's dropping about 2 degrees per week right now. This week is gonna hurt. But we're starting to see that water cool off. The fish are now not going to the main part, going as deep as they can. So we're gonna have a better fish count to go off of it, because the last time we did this, after putting on our shell cracker fish for our snail population, we had not one reported. And I know there's red ear in that lake because they're working, they're doing their thing. They're also getting to be about the size of a dinner plate, so pretty good sized fish out there. But October 10th, Thursday night, about an hour before sunset, they're gonna set up. They're gonna be on a boat, they're gonna have a generator running, they're gonna have lights on their boat, so let your neighbors know. You know, it's somebody that's supposed to be there. They're gonna be out on the water, and I believe they're gonna be shocking in 3 separate locations on the lake at various depths to try to get this baseline complete. So our efforts that we continue to work with based on our study and our knowledge is not just shooting from the hip. We're gonna, hopefully everything they find out agrees with what we've been doing as a committee for the last 15 years on fish stock. So.
Great, thank you very much, Ken. Ken, can I ask that we make sure that we get an email reminder or an email notice to the community? The week
Got that here.
For October 10th?
Yeah.
I think they're gonna want people to ski at dark, October 10th. I think, so you wanna open the lake up for above idle? No, I'm just kidding.
Who do that?
I'm just kidding.
Well, it'll be no different than now.
I'm sorry, Tom.
Just to add to what Ken said, this was the motion in terms of fish purchasing, and Robin Alexander will be contacting Ken to get our order in. So we get our order in for the fish. I'll give this to Deborah, but what the committee recommended was to buy 1,000 red ear at $750 total, 1,000 walleye at $3,250 total, 1,000 largemouth bass at $2,150, and hybrid striped bass 1,000 at $2,150. If you add all of that up and tax and delivery fee, you get a total amount of $9,303.65. So we had set aside $8,500 for fish stocking this year. So that would leave an $800 makeup that either we would have to do, or possibly we could twist the arm of Lake Committee to have them come up with the $800. But either way, Robin Alexander will be contacting Ken to get that order in.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Do we need to do anything about the 800? Is that just like a motion of some kind?
We probably need to get it to a vote to determine, well, we have to discuss where that money's gonna come from, whether it's the Lake Committee or whether it's the POA.
The extra $800,
Yeah.
because we already have the $8,500.
Yep. What's your budget looking like, Ken?
I think we're okay if you would like to allow the Lake Committee to contribute their portion of it, just like we did for the fish stocking study. We'd be, I think it's right in our wheelhouse, so.
We appreciate that.
you know,
Thank you, Ken.
We appreciate you putting it in the budget, because this is,
Yep.
this is a milestone for
Yep.
Heritage Lake.
All right, it's important work, thank you. I can only imagine that all of the garden club ladies were watching the YouTube video of this meeting and realized they didn't have anybody to give a report, so they sent Anita Johnson here because she's the closest and get here the fastest. So since there was no garden club report and you're here, Anita, do you have anything to
Two things.
update us with?
This Thursday, we're heading to an alpaca farm in Brownsburg. Yeah, anybody that wants to go, 9:20, we're leaving. It's $5. Sounds kind of cool. They're sustainable. They've got a lot of gardens. And we've been working, several of us have been working on the pollinator garden, pulling sedge. I will tell you, it looks way better than we thought last week or last month. There are cosmos that are about ready to bloom. There are tons of black-eyed Susans, and we're hoping that it really becomes something that people want to come and see. So, oh, and I'll tell you what, this guy Kurt, he's a weeding maniac. He's a weeding maniac.
Any butterflies?
Not yet, but I will tell you that if you go, there are an awful lot of bees and hummingbirds. And if you would, please don't spray bug spray around it. You know, I mean, we're trying to bring pollinators in so that you have pollination in your own gardens. And if you go out and spray for bugs right there by the garden, you're just negating all of our efforts. So try to stay away from bugs.
Thank
bug
you,
spray.
Anita. Thank you, Kurt, as well. Nice working, guys. Okay.
It's in Lincoln Hills Park.
Yep, right by the beach there. So Kent took care of the clean water report as well, so long-range planning, Deborah Napier.
Well, I've not heard back from anyone, so this might be a short trip in long-term planning.
I know that you did have a gathering of some folks just to kind of get together and talk about some of the opportunities maybe for long-term planning, and I think it was an afternoon session, and I know that there were a lot of people, because we posted it on Facebook as well, and it seemed to have interest. There are several people that asked questions and said that they were interested in getting involved, but obviously the meeting time didn't suit their schedule, they were working or had kids or whatever, so is there any plan on having an evening session in the near future to see if there's more interest?
I was seeking conversation from those 20-plus people that I've sent emails to. Anita was at the first preliminary. We had a float around, which was very nice. Few other people showed up, so we did have good conversation about some things that we could do. But basically, the first meeting was just get familiar with the strategic plan and then find out where we were at with that, what we need to do to support that, and then go from there. I've not heard from anyone.
Okay, well, maybe if we have a definitive next meeting time or day, and we get that communicated, give people a chance to get it on their calendars and give it another crack. And
We're
maybe
trying
have
to
it be
shoot
an
for a
evening.
Monday evening. The earlier is better for me. I work till 5:30, so 6:30 would be great. And we were looking at the 17th or 24th, I believe.
Okay, September?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Try to get that communicated sooner rather than later, give people a chance to ask questions and get it ready. So anybody that's interested in joining the Long Range Planning Committee, they do important work. There's a lot of things going on in our community that we need to take care of, a lot of changes, and that's the group that's going to be leading a lot of those efforts. Thank you, Deborah.
Mm-hmm.
Siltation, again, Dwayne is not here for siltation.
There was no meeting in August.
No meeting in August.
But there
They
will
meet
be-
again in September?
They will be meeting in September, and if you give me 30 seconds, I'll get you the date.
Okay.
That would be the fourth Thursday, which would be the 26th of September, 7 p.m. here.
Okay, thank you. HLEPT, let's see, John Deegan. I think their next meeting is in October. I can't confirm that right now, but I'll have to take a look at that. Election Committee, Jim Muhlenbein.
I'm going to let Chris talk about the incentive plan here shortly, but as of August the 26th, which was the end of the first incentive group for the drawing, we had 590 total petitions turned in, represents 789 total lots. So far in incentive 2, which I just started putting together because I've kind of been out for a little bit, we've added an additional 34 lots recently in the last couple of weeks. So we are now up to 823 lots voted, but we're still only at 27.6% of the total. So that's where we are. We're going to continue to do what we're doing with trying to work with the different groups. Whenever they get together, we'll have a little table and do what we can. But the incentive thing may help it, and Chris will be talking about that, so.
Thank you, Jim. It's a lot of effort that you put into it, and you and Deborah, and Jim especially, so I thank you guys all for keeping that moving. Managers report, Ken Roselle.
All right. With a couple other reports, mine got just a little shorter. I'd like to start out by congratulating all the winners from the different events during the boat poker run event. I'd also like to thank Paul Forbes and Jim Johnson for donating their first place winnings from their Shamu, the whale boat entry, and requesting their winnings to be applied to the new marina construction.
Ken, I have to interrupt.
What's up?
I need to correct the record, okay? The whale was entirely a Paul Forbes-led project. All I did was push the water up through the blowhole, and I only did that for half of the trip. And Paul and my wife Anita, Paul, he did it all.
Okay, then I'll change that to Anita.
That's fine with me. That's all I did.
The blowhole fits you perfect. So anyway, I'd like to thank you guys for that. Every little bit helps. In regards to the construction of the new marina, our plan is to begin packing all the inside belongings that will be placed in storage during construction. I'd like to thank Bob Rodez from Heritage Lake Storage and Garden for donating a 10 by 20 storage unit during the time of our construction project at no charge. I'd like to thank Bob Rodez for that. As I said, every little bit helps. On September 14th, from 8 a.m. to noon, Putnam County Hospital will be having a free wellness screening here at the clubhouse. So come and visit, have yourself checked out, and find out how healthy or possibly unhealthy you may be. We have finished, the maintenance guys have finished the Lincoln Hills playground project, thus completing all 4 playground locations with a border surrounding the equipment, and that includes 3.5 semi-loads of playground wood chips that added a thick layer to meet required guidelines. The only thing I'd like to add about the water test, when I called back in and spoke to the lady at the Montgomery County Board of Health, she did state that this was one of the cleanest lakes that she has ever seen. And finally, with the aquatic control regarding the fish survey on October 10th, this message I will read will be sent out by email and also on social media for communications to the members. I plan on trying to be out that night just to make sure everything goes smoothly. Electrofishing will begin at dark and will continue for up to 6 to 7 hours or longer. The electrofishing boat has bright lights and runs off of a generator. The generator does produce some noise, but if the boat goes past your house, it will only be near for a few minutes. Some safety precautions: no swimming or fishing of any kind should take place after dark on the night of the survey. Severe injury can occur if someone is in the water while the electrofishing boat is nearby. Any boats following the electrofishing must stay back at least 100 feet while the fishing is in progress. Any viewers on shore must stay back from the water's edge at least 50 feet while the electrofishing is in progress. So these safety precautions are for your own safety as well as aquatic control personnel safety. It is imperative that these rules are followed. So I'll be posting this out for everybody to hear, and what my plan is probably be out on the water with the security boat and probably just kind of staying ahead of the guys and just making sure you shouldn't be swimming after dark anyway, but just to be on the safe side and no fishing. So.
It's a good idea, give them an escort
I'm sure
with the lights on.
I'm sure the water will be cold, but do what?
Oh, teasing can't hoops. Skiing's okay.
Just don't ski near the boat.
Skis aren't metal.
All right, cool, thank you, Ken. Old business A, the covenant vote. As Jim Muhlenbein stated, we're making progress as far as the number of petitions that have been received. We're still pretty low as far as our percentage of total lots voted thus far, but we are going in the right direction. It seems to go in spurts. So for that reason, to reintroduce a new spurt of votes hopefully coming up, we've got the next round, or the next group of mailers and opportunity for electronic voting about to start in the next week or so, which means from August 26th, well, from March actually, till about August 26th, that's what we're gonna refer to as period 1. We promised that we would have 3 separate raffle drawings for those who have voted and the covenant petition. So the first group of people are represented by tickets in this little barrel right here, and we're gonna randomly draw the names of, or the numbers of 6 lot owners who will then be referenced by name by Deborah. So those are the people, all you had to do was submit a valid petition to be entered into the drawing, and everybody who has done that will be entered now, and we'll draw the first batch. The next incentive period will be from August 27th through probably around February sometime, and then the last 6 months will be the third voting period. All of the petitions still must be returned by September of 2020, next year, and that will conclude the covenant petition cycle. So that's where we are. So as promised, we'll begin the raffle right now. So we're going to draw 6 names. Go around randomly, since Harold just got a bunch of kudos for all his HLCS work. We'll start with you.
I think I had the blue in here.
Okay, Deborah, 041. Oh, let me know when you're ready.
She's loading it up. Is this for the $250?
This is the $250 one right here.
I get my 10% on this.
Stand. I think it's like hers. You ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, 041 599. Come on, Deborah.
Don't say that 0. James and Helen Schweitzer.
All right. You want the ticket for that? You want to write it on the back of the ticket or something?
I know them, I'll get my 10%. Harold in their absence.
Mary Williams, if you want me to be so kind as to draw the next number last.
My number is 826.
Yes, 250.
All right, thank you, Mary. Mary Williams drew number 041 379.
Same number. They're all the same number.
How much is this for?
How much is it for?
The other one is $200.
David and Jennifer Howell.
Curtis, do you want to draw a number?
No.
No? All right. How about you, Rick?
Wow.
I think you're 9 votes.
All right, this one is for 200, wait, what do we do, 250 and 200, this is $100? 041 398.
398.
Yep.
That is Stephen and Julie Jones.
Stephen and Julie Jones. How about Larry Garland?
They've been here a long time.
Now we got $50. 041 324.
David and Susan Grandidier.
Close, that's close.
That sounds suspicious.
How about the new chairman of our government?
Mix those up.
So only hold my own.
You can, if it's in there. All right, the last $50 gift card is 041 592.
That is Donald Schicker. Sorry if I missed.
Strickler.
No,
No?
no,
There is a Schicker.
Schicker.
I think he's
Valid.
on, you think he's on Valley Forge?
For what in Mill Spring?
I think he's almost right across from you.
All right, so those are the 6 winners of the raffle for those that have voted in the covenant petition thus far. Again, there will be 2 other drawings as we continue. That was 6, wasn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What did I miss?
You didn't miss anything. Ooh, just, you misspoke. There's 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 5. Thank you for catching me. Those are the 5 raffle drawing prizes for this round. Again, if you haven't voted on the covenant petition, please do so. The next round of petitions should be mailed to those who haven't yet voted sometime within the next week. The electronic voting website, we finally got legal approval to go forward with that method for voting this time around, so hopefully that'll generate some more returns as well. Again, vote yes or vote no, but please vote whichever way you want. Not voting, it's not going to get the job done for us. We have to be able to understand what this community wants going forward, and that's what voting is supposed to be all about. So please do that when you get your ballot if you haven't already voted. So thank you to those who have, and congratulations to the round 1 winners. They will be contacted by the office tomorrow. Any questions, guys, on the covenant vote? Okay. New business A, boat slips and campground fees. Obviously, the marina budget has been approved by board vote. We are proceeding. Demolition of the existing marina should be happening sometime towards the end of this month. We're ready to get moving on that. Another huge thank you to Paul Forbes and Jim for all the work that you guys have put in to get us to that point. As communicated several times in various forums, one of the ways that we're going to help pay this debt back that we're incurring is by raising fees that we, the board, are in control of. So that's what this discussion is going to be about. So Jim, if you want to take it away from here, explain to the board where we are and have a chance for a discussion or questions.
Okay, just as a reminder to everybody, the intent was to increase our Powercraft fee by $60 per year for 4 years. Our boat slips and boat tie-ups by $30 per year for 4 years. And the permanent camping fees by $30 for 4 years. That'll raise us approximately, just a little bit south of $250,000.
Any discussion, questions?
I've got one. Did we look into any of the other possible fees that we could raise? I don't know if we ever got into that or not.
You mean for this cycle? The only thing, what else would there be?
I know we looked at some of them, I just didn't know how in depth we looked at any of the other ones. You had a list at one point, I just wondered if.
I think we discussed that briefly, and once the vote was taken on these fees for the boats and the campgrounds and the slips, down the road we would look into that as a way to help support both the marina and the POA as far as revamping the funds that we will start revamping after we pay off the marina.
I think among them was A&E.
Yeah.
But, you know, what would we have? 6? 12? So that'd be, if we went to $100, in the big scheme of things, really the boat slips, the boats.
I think also what might be prudent would be to take the list and do some homework on what other POAs charge for those particular fees, what other communities charge for those particular fees. I think we'll find out that we're pretty low on some of these fees, especially housing and that kind of thing. So if we do some homework on that, we could, when we offer the suggestion that we might raise these in the future, we have some foundation to why we're raising them and compare our community to other communities.
I had it up a long time, I don't have it.
It's, their boat fees were like $40, but their
They have,
assessments are like $900 some dollars.
yeah, they have a bigger community.
And that's really,
Their budget happens to be about $5 million.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, they have a bigger community too, I mean.
But they can charge
Hey,
$900.
well,
$3 million is
and
big.
here's, that's a really important point, guys. So we're tied to our current assessment rate, right? Because the only way to change it is again through a covenant vote, which we're struggling with, that's a whole other conversation, right? So the only means of gathering revenue for projects like this is through fees. And until we can get to a point where we can rely on the community to help support changes or special assessments in the form of voting, then this is where we are. The only things that we have in our control are the fees, so that's why we have to target what we've got. It feels like an unfair burden to some, for sure. It'd be nice to just charge the whole entire community a flat fee and be done with it, but it's just not an option right now. So we're going with what's available to us. It doesn't mean that we can't adjust it later, and I think it's really important that we stipulate that it's a 4-year period, and at the end of that 4 years, those fees revert back to our current fees, which again is dependent upon future boards to make sure that that happens, which those future boards are made up of members of this community, like all you guys sitting out there. So if you have a doubt as to whether that may or may not happen, get yourself involved and run for the board and be part of that decision-making body that's going to control that going forward. Any other questions? Does that help, Grant?
Yeah.
It was a long answer to
No,
probably a
it's
short question.
Good explanation, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
One of the things I'd like to, I think I mentioned it in another meeting, I know we've got a waiting list for boat slips. We've got 900 and something boats, I think actually it's 1,000 or so. There's a lot of boats, we got a lot of boats.
1,037.
And so we got 1,037 boats out there, so we got plenty of boats wanting to get on the water. We got plenty of people wanting to get boats, boat tie-ups and boat slips. However, we're 10 campground sites short this year being full. Speaking with quite a few of the campground folks, they feel that may drop just with that raise, especially when you have campground folks that have boats and boat slips. I think it may be putting a little bit of an unfair burden on just a specific group of people, and that'd be the folks at the campground who may have boats and boat slips. With 75 campground sites, at $30 a campground site, yeah, it's a couple grand. But I think we could probably, I would like to see that, the campground fee kind of just be taken off the table. And by no means does that benefit me any, because I'll be paying the other two. So it's not like I want that one removed to help me. But I do think it does put a little extra burden on some folks over there at the campground. And without having a full campground, I think that could possibly lower the number of campground sites that are rented.
I think we're running the risk of that impact being felt by anybody that has a boat slip or anybody that has multiple motorized boats as well. The decision to not put both or all of their boats in, or not get the boat slip, or just launch their boat every time. I mean, that's a very real possibility. We have to be prepared to adjust to that. So I think to go forward with the proposed fee increases should include an evaluation at some point next year to see how effective it is or what the impact is, the negative side of it, and then maybe revisit it if it's what we need to continue, or look at other avenues for revenue. But we got to start somewhere. So.
Also, with just to mention a few minutes ago, special assessments, without being able to do that, with our new approved electronic voting, and this is kind of directed to you, Jim, would it be something we could just have a separate vote just to see what folks would just do, just have a special assessment vote? Hey, does everybody want it? Would everybody be willing to pay $30, $100, 20, whatever, just pick a number.
You can't just
It would
do that.
require a
You
covenant
can't-
change,
It would require a covenant change.
Each
It's just
special
2/3
assessment
more.
requires a mailing to the entire community.
Mhm.
And the bar is lower for a special assessment. It's 50% is quorum. So quorum would be 1,500 approximately. That's not exactly
Okay.
right, but 1,500 people, which we cannot possibly meet. So then we have to have another meeting, which we must announce to the entire community. And then that would be halved to 750 people, which we cannot possibly meet. And then we have to announce to the entire community another meeting, which would then go to 350, until finally we got to the 6th or 7th iteration, which gets us to around 35.
And that's a big
And
chunk of
each time we have to send an email to everybody, and we have to send it printed to everybody. And what's it cost us per mailing?
And it requires like a 30-day notice before each meeting or something like that as well, doesn't it?
I don't really think so, Chris. I think they have to be within 60 days.
Okay. So
Each
there's
mailing
challenges
costs
to
what?
that.
Sure, $3,000.
Each mailing is
Oh, are they
$3,000.
that much?
The mail, yeah.
Oh, counting the printing and everything?
You got your numbers wrong, it's 60%.
It's not open.
Well, it should.
It's not open
This is
forum
not,
right now.
no, not yet, sir, thank you. So, yeah, so those are all considerations. I mean, we've got challenges with, those are great ideas, those are great approaches that we'd like to be able to use, but they're just not feasible right now.
But I think going forward, if we get the freedom to where we're not constrained by what we're constrained with the covenants, we can put everything out to the community for vote. Because then we won't have those 50% requirements and all that, and then the people who are interested are gonna vote. So,
And the voting website's gonna be a huge tool in that as well. That should really help, for sure. But that doesn't help us right now. We have to decide this now, so we're ready for the spring. Sorry, sir, please. So that's where we are, guys. Any other discussion? Does that answer your question?
Sure do.
Anything else, guys? So if not, I guess we're ready to hear a motion, if somebody wants to propose one.
I'll make that. I move that the Heritage Lake Property Owners Association increase 2023 fees annually, for the year 2020 through the year 2023 fees annually for power crafts by $60, for boat slips and boat tie-ups by $30, permanent camping fees by $30. These increases are intended to be in place for a period not to exceed 4 years for the purpose of supporting the construction of a new marina and assist in our plan to rapidly retire debt associated with building the marina. It is the explicit intent of this board that the 4-year fee increase be reduced and return to their 2019 levels beginning in 2024.
There's a motion on the table.
I second.
All in favor? Opposed? 2 opposed? Okay, I think we want to take this to a second vote in October as well. So,
Ken, do we have to, or do you know? Does anybody know?
I think we should.
Let's just do it.
we've got time, we're not really pressed for time right now.
No.
I think that gives
I
the
think the
community.
argument could be if you add up all the
Gives the
running,
community
it'd be
the
up
chance
there.
to come
Yeah,
out
yeah.
if
Yep,
there's
yep.
you know.
Absolutely. Yep, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
the actual motion, so you know.
Bill, did you vote yes or no? Okay.
Okay. Motion passed 62.
62.
All right, and that'll be in the October meeting. Okay,
It'll be on the agenda for the office, right?
no, it'll be the
Just a
agenda
vote
for
for
the
the board.
board meeting in October, because
business.
that's where we can vote, yeah, old business, A, or whatever. I know, well, operations sets up the agenda, but
Right.
make sure that it's included there. Okay. 2020 board petitions, new business B. We're getting to be that time of year again where we will be accepting board petitions from members of the community. Anybody interested in running for the board, you have until October 31st to submit your petition, which requires 25 member signatures. to be considered for your candidacy for a board position. There will be 3 positions open, so we're hoping we get a lot of interest. There's a lot of big things that have happened recently and will continue to be going on over the next few years that we're hoping gets people interested in becoming part of the board to help guide the direction of our future. So anybody who's interested, I believe the petitions are available at the office. Go pick one up and start getting them completed and submit it when you got your 25 signatures from members of the community. Any questions on that, guys? Okay. Lake Patrol, Tom Novak.
Yeah, basically, I just wanted to give you an update on Lake Patrol. I did contact Hidden Valley Lake, which is a lake of similar size to ours, just to inquire about what they do with their Lake Patrol individuals. And just for everybody's, what Hidden Valley does is their Lake Patrol is made up of retirees. Their current force consists of a total of 4 retirees. Those retirees are paid, compensated at an hourly rate of $10 to $13 per hour. What their Lake Patrol does is they have one individual and they have one boat, and that individual, between the 4 potentials, they monitor their lake, or they're out on their lake Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for a 6-hour shift, which would be 4 to 9:30. On Friday, they have 2 6-hour shifts, 12 to 4 and 4 to 9:30. On Saturdays and Sundays, they also have 2 6-hour shifts from 9 to 3 and 3 to 9:30. Basically, the Lake Patrol individuals are trained primarily with boat safety. Currently, for their 2019 season, as of this reported date, which was about a week ago that I spoke to the community manager at Hidden Valley, they had issued a total of 8 citations. The citations, as I had mentioned at a previous meeting, what they do with the citation is then sent to the office. The citations are reviewed by a group of people that are called the judicial panel. Those individuals determine what action should be taken, or if any action should be taken with the citation. So between May and October, they have a total of about 200 man-hours that they spend using these retirees. I brought this idea up to the Lake Committee at their last meeting and asked for their input to see what they thought. What I was proposing to them is that what our Lake Patrol would be, with Ken's recommendation, it would be a second set of eyes in our current safety officer boat. So if we have 2 safety officer boats out on the water, these Lake Patrol individuals would simply ride with the safety patrol and be a second pair of eyes. They would identify infractions, and then they would pass that along to the boat driver, the safety officer, and that officer would then take the action. So they wouldn't initially be taking any direct action. All they would be is observers. Presenting that also, our retirees or our volunteers would be non-paid individuals. Okay? Presenting that to the Lake Committee, there were favorable response to it. As a matter of fact, I asked for a vote, and of the 9 members there, I got 4 members to volunteer that they would be willing to join the Lake Patrol. I happen to be one of them, but so I got 3 other volunteers. Basically, what I wanted to know from the board is if I should pursue this in terms of trying to solicit via the highlights, other announcements, to see what interest our community has in volunteering to be part of the Lake Patrol. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the board's guidance. Should I continue any further, or should I just drop it?
I think we should have more discussion on it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things to consider, but I think it's an admirable thing to consider, but I think we need to discuss it more. Maybe at the next ops meeting, we can start discussing it. I'm not sure how I feel about it right now. I'd like to hear some more discussion.
Were there any concerns at Hidden Valley Lake or any coverage for things like liability, or is there some kind of waiver that volunteers would sign as they get on the patrol boats? Where does our responsibility go if there was an incident and they're on a patrol boat?
If the lake patrol people would be attacked in the boat?
No,
Well-
Ken was driving.
I'm not sure what kind of liability. It's just like if I would pick you up and take you out in the boat.
Yeah, but you're on POA property essentially, right? And it's happening on POA property or a POA-owned boat.
More of a business.
Is there any liability currently for our safety officers?
Say again.
Is there any, Chris is asking about liability for lake patrol, that second pair of eyes in the boat, and I'm asking, does our current
Insurance coverage.
safety officers, do they have any additional liability that we pay?
They're protected under the agency that they work for. Their liability?
Yes.
We have insurance on the boat, right?
County.
Yes.
You're saying that, excuse me, you're saying that if they're a reserved officer, when they're working for us, their liability is covered by the sheriff's department?
Correct.
That's why we made that recommendation.
There's a form that I need to fill out that identifies them working out here. It's for the agency that they work for. Their liability covers them because they're acting the authority under Putnam County Sheriff or Bay Bridge Police Department.
So I guess that's something we'd have to follow up on in terms of our insurance company and, possibly presenting our insurance company with that particular form and saying, how would a lake patrol be secured? Good point. Any other?
I would bring up one thing about, since you brought up the Hidden Valley Lake, to address one of the points that was brought up by Kent earlier, and that is that prior to the last 3 years, they predominantly gave out permits like we do, and they started giving every new boat owner a test before they got their permit about the rules on the lake. They went from 40 citations to 8.
So how does this deal into with lake patrol?
Nothing, I'm just bringing that up because you brought up Hidden Valley. I was just trying to give you a point on the rules and how important they are for the safety of the lake. I think we should keep that in mind when we're thinking about putting more patrollers on the lake. We should probably start by getting people to read the rules out loud at least, so we know they read them. And that's my point. My point is that every time someone stopped out here, they say, I didn't know that. Well, we know they knew it, but I'm just saying that Hidden Valley statistics show that after they started testing their new boat owners, their citations were cut by 500%. So, pretty good.
That's interesting.
It proves that if people read the rules, then sometimes they obey them. I don't know.
Well, in comparison to Hidden Valley Lake, they do have some speed limit rules. They don't allow jet skis. They don't allow wake boats. They also only allow one boat over a certain horsepower. And if you get one boat, I can't remember what the horsepower is, but you get one boat, I think it's 25 or 35 horsepower, I think it is, Paul, you get one over that, and the rest of your boats have to be less than that.
So how does that,
does that
just to try to bring it back, we're talking lake patrol. Just to identify.
I think how it ties in is they consider themselves a sleepy lake when it comes to boats.
here, and so that's all I'm saying, and they use volunteers down there for a sleepy lake. I think originally the idea was maybe to put volunteers out in the boats, and then Ken suggested maybe riding. I'm not negating it, I'm not against it, I'm just bringing up some more conversation.
Ken, what are your thoughts? You own the patrol resources now, you know what the challenges are, you know the struggles they have and the things that work and don't work. What's your take on this idea?
My first thought is that at some point in time, we gotta put the pressure back on the people that are acting a fool on the lake. We could, you're talking about these, are they gonna be volunteers?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a second set of eyes, as you suggest.
If, we all know what we struggle with volunteers, with out here, I just wonder how dedicated when it comes to a 90-degree day, are they gonna get out and spend 4 to 6 hours out on the water? I have no problem with a second set of eyes because I think it would help. But if they show up, they show up, I guess. But I still, I still go back to how many security officers that we put on the water compared to places that I've seen worked and we just keep wanting to add more and add more. And at some point in time, we got to slap the hand of the people that are breaking the rules out on the water. And I don't know whether it's a fine, stiffer penalties to not go through the process and kick them off the water. Everybody that is stopped has an excuse. If we, and I'll just, if we would stop 50 people, there probably would only be 2 that would say, my bad, I made a mistake. The rest of them either ready to fight, or they have an excuse. And I'll give you a quick example, just last night. I was getting ready to mark on for the sheriff's department. Deborah called me and there was somebody out on the water that had a day pass. Throws it up that he had a day pass. Well, he didn't get it this weekend. So the security was out on the water. I had him go chase him down and meet me at the dock. I asked him if they knew why I was getting them off the water, and their response was, well, I was just going to ski for a little bit. I didn't know that this was only good for today. You know, it's just always an excuse that they to Paul's point, they just act like that they don't read it. And so, you know, I live on Heritage Drive. I sit and watch when I'm mowing my grass. I watch pontoons go by after 6 o'clock with no sticker. What do? I jump in the vehicle and I go down there and stop. It's just, and I've said it recently, until we get away from, and I hate to say this, a lot of people that have the entitlement demeanor, it won't stop. You can continue to put people out on the water, continue to put people out on the water until you have some kind of an iron fist to put a stop to this. It's not going to stop. You just got, you can put, our lake is too long. You can put 5 people out there with 2 people in the boats, and you're going to miss something because there's so much going on out there. I constantly hear people skiing after dark, hauling tail down the lake after dark. Those people know better than that.
That is so dangerous.
It is. Somebody's going to get hurt And that's when everybody's gonna stand up and say, we gotta do something to stop this.
So you don't think this second set of eyes would augment that, in terms of just September, not September, but August, September? How many citations were issued on the lake? Any idea?
Citations?
In other words,
Yeah.
you write them up, if you want to
Yeah.
call it a citation.
Um,
You write them up.
I bet there's probably been, a lot of ours is verbal, stopping people and getting them to stop and stuff like that, but, I'm gonna say probably off the top of my head, 50, 55.
And
that
those
I've
are all
actually-
first-time offenders.
Some of them.
So therefore, the second time would be a second citation, if I could use that term.
Let me use this as another example. Boat poker run weekend.
You didn't go after my whale, did you?
Two separate officers. One officer, I get a phone call that he was being out of line. So I checked with him. They were sitting out in the middle. And I just went by to check on them. They waved at, I waved back, I went on. Another officer went on the water and had a problem with the same boat. Now, don't tell me that my officers was doing something wrong. We had a separate incident with a separate officer, and later on that night, the young lady on the boat come up and apologized to me how the adults acted. And she told me that her mother, as soon as the officer flipped on his lights, said, somebody else got to drive, I'm too drunk to drive. And then when the officer stopped them, got ridiculed. And my phone starts blowing up because they want favors, I assume. I told the officer, do what you got to do. Because do you think for 1 minute I'm going to have anybody ever wants to work on this water if they want to call me when they get in trouble? They're going to sit out there and collect a paycheck and not do a job because his exact words was, I see how this works. I stop somebody and they call you. That's when I said, you do what you got to do. So until this kind of stuff stops, you can put 2 people and 5 boats out there, and you're still not going to stop.
Well, I guess then, from what I'm hearing of this discussion, it doesn't seem from what you're describing that a separate set of eyes will do any good at all. So in terms of continuing this, I don't see the purpose of continuing it. What I do see the purpose of, though, is us discussing more
Enforcement, maybe?
More enforcement, correct. More direct enforcement. I would have thought that when that officer got the bad response from the individual, I would have thought the safety patrol officer would have thrown them off the lake.
It would have been a different, if they would have acted that way to me, it would have been a different.
You would have thrown them off the lake?
I would have. I may have taken him to jail.
Well,
And I'm surprised that he didn't. The only reason I think that he didn't was because he was fairly new in the department, I guess I want to say. But I know one thing, that guy is nothing but genuinely nice. And for him to be speaking to them and telling them what their options are, and the driver fire up the boat, think that, and getting ready to pull up, the girl had to tell him to stop. He's talking to you.
I know you would have thrown them off the lake. And I'm just somewhat surprised that this safety officer didn't throw them off the lake. Because I guess what I see in terms of Jim's remark about enforcement is people have to start understanding that we are going to enforce. So in terms of this lake patrol, I think it's a dead issue because the second set of eyes will not do anything until we get that enforcement mentality.
It's enforcement, and its consequences for bad behavior or violations.
So
There
that-
really aren't
that's-
enough.
That's enforcement.
Oh, okay.
You know, we just recently, there was a gentleman that went to jail over at Van Bibber Lake. He had the same mentality. He was intoxicated on a golf cart and drove through a fire scene.
Yeah.
And he informed the officer, "You can't take me to jail. I'm on private property." Well, he went to jail. And come to find out, he was the one that started the fire.
Yep, that's what he did. He went through the scene, left the scene, come back to the scene.
But my point is, that demeanor is this, Tom, is the same what we deal with out here, times 10. It is just, it's out of control, it really is. And that's, I just bring up those, this is all the time. This just goes on and on and on. And to be honest with you, the one way of stopping it is start backing up a paddy wagon right there on the marina on weekends and just start hauling. My God, that'll start getting some attention. I'm not here, I tell people, don't be the party buster. I don't want people, I would still want people to have a good time. But I ask people not to bring attention to themselves. And bring attention to themselves is doing stupid things. And bring attention to yourself is you know, breaking the rules. Breaking the rules and you know, that individual, that lady, she knew what the rules were because she says, somebody else drive because I'm too drunk. She knew what the rules were. But they just do it anyway. You know, I've said before, I mean, it was a holiday weekend, you know, let people bring attention to themselves. A holiday weekend, we got 400 or 500 boats out here. I just don't want nobody to get hurt. So as I'm, you know, sitting on the boat, watching with binoculars, this female sitting at the back of the boat, see me, and flips me off as she's going down the lake. I could go on and on and on. And
Well, that's where I think enforcement will stop it. Because I mean, the sad thing not the sad thing, but the disturbing thing that you mentioned a meeting or so ago, of the lakes that you're familiar with in terms of people not being considerate, ours is the worst. That to me is very, very upsetting.
my son-in-law oversees the Marine Patrol on the Sheriff's Department. So I obviously have a lot of conversation with him on Cataract Lake and Glen Flint. And he was there at Glen Flint over Labor Day weekend. Never had any problems. Stopped a couple people that I think was going too fast after dark or after sunset. They apologized and slowed it down. Out here, you tell them, that's as slow as it'll go. That's the response you get.
So I think to Paul's point, then let's add enforcement of lake security rules to our agenda for the ops meeting.
Or invite DNR out here for it.
And let's start talking about it. So by next season, maybe we'll have something in place.
Can I respond to what you just said? Invite DNR out here?
Let them do training out here.
I got two friends that are DNR officers, and both of them have said, I don't want no part of that lake. That should tell you something.
Well, one thing with Paul, talking about the test, a boating test, that's your first warning right there. You take the test, you know the rules. The first time out, you get stopped for something, it's not, okay, we're gonna give you a little smack on the hand and give you, you gotta take your boat out. You're out for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, depending on the infraction. You make it hurt a lot to start off, but it didn't happen the second time. And I think part of that mentality that you're talking about, Ken, and I've heard that, I stop people on the lake. I can't tell you the number of times I've heard people say, well, I've talked to Ken about it. I think one time Ivan and I talked to Kent about it. That was some wakeboarders who brought that up when they were down in COVID. They said, I'll hear that all the time. I talk to Kent about it. And I've heard this comment in public meetings here, talking with people out in the community, and it just chaps my butt a little bit when people say, well, you know, the boaters out here carry this place. The boater fees carry this place because we can't cover our budget with the assessment. That may be true. That's 100% true.
So what?
That's right. But if the assessments aren't paid, the boaters aren't going to cover our budget neither. We're a community, and everybody should be working together and respecting everybody else out on the water, especially in the sake of safety.
Let's get on to the forum, because I've got to answer some of those questions. You guys just bombarded
All right, we're getting there.
15 items
We're
that I
getting
need to
there.
address.
Yeah, we're getting there. I think we can all agree that there's a lot of work to be done, so, yeah, I'm happy to continue to have these discussions in the ops meetings and board meetings.
Sorry, the meeting's taking so long there, Ken.
No.
We have to do this 3 times a month.
No worries.
All right, is there any other discussion on this topic or anything else that you guys want to talk about before we go to open
So
forum?
bottom line is I'm gonna drop lake patrol.
Yep,
I
agreed.
move to open the lake forum. Open forum.
All right, so we're now to the open forum portion of the meeting. Couple of rules: you raise your hand when you're called on before you have the floor. You state your name and your lot number, ask a question or state your business. Be respectful, no name calling. If it gets out of control, you're gonna lose the rest of your opportunity. And that's about it. So I'll open it up. Anybody have any questions or comments? Don?
Yeah, Don Williams on 38 Patriots Landing. Now that we're moving forward with the marina, can the contractor come in and tell us what cuts they made? Since they were originally it was pointed at 1.1 million, now we're down to 850,000. To tell us where that cuts are going to be made to come down to that figure.
I'll leave that to Paul and Jim to answer.
Yeah, there's a finalized set of plans coming out, and that's when we'll have a better handle on that.
Will he come and present it?
Present it to the community?
Yeah, like initially, the contractor was here when they first showed all that stuff. Now that they revamped it, the final plans, will he come and say, this is what we're doing?
I can suggest it, sure.
Good.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Don. Shannon?
Yes, in regards to...
Name and lot owner, or lot number, please.
Oh, yeah, Shannon Lee, 2 Lincoln Hills. Regards to raising the assessment, and maybe it's something I've just missed, but I haven't heard anything like, right now it's tied to the CPI. So why wouldn't we say the assessment can't be raised above 4% above the CPI? People know what the target is. Right now, I have no idea. I've heard people say, we should double it. I mean, that's what's making some people nervous anyway, is that they don't have a concept of what this really means. If you tell them 4% above the CPI, which is low anyway, it doesn't meet inflation, that gives them at least an idea of, well, this might not be so unreasonable, and you can do an amortization and tell them what this might mean in the future, rather than just saying, we need an assessment raise, when I don't know what that number, how you're gonna come up with that number.
Well, I don't
Number in mind.
I don't think that we've actually seriously discussed it because it can't happen at all unless we change the covenants to allow us to write that in at some point. So right now, we're concentrating on
I think
how.
we're stuck then in a loop. If I don't know what the outcome is gonna be, why would
But the
I-
assessments aren't on the table now.
We have had no discussions, not a single discussion about increasing assessments.
You're
Not one.
missing his point.
Oh, I see, I get it now. Okay.
We've had no discussions about that.
Okay.
We're trying to do it other ways.
Right, our focus now is on modifying the voting
Right.
requirements in order for the community in the future to vote yes or no on things like assessments or other things that are defined in our covenants. We can't change those things until we can realistically obtain the number of votes to do so or to vote it down in the future. That's why the focus is on the voting process right now.
Yeah, I think it's, I'm sorry.
No problem, no problem.
Good question.
In the back, please.
Oh, yeah, Jan Soleil, 65 Gettysburg. Before we get launched into the lakes things, something that Kent brought up, HOLAC we've been holding the monies for all the contributors through the annual assessments and when dues are collected and all that. And when he brought up maybe changing feast and ski, our HOLAC committee has, actually, we finished a 3-year contract, and Ken's very aware of that, with the fireworks agency or business that was putting it on. And so one of our members is out trying to find out to get bids on fireworks for next year. And our committee is really strongly recommending that fireworks be held not on the 4th of July next year, which is actually on Saturday, but on the Saturday before that, only because we feel that we can get more fireworks for our money, and then we're not competing with fireworks companies that are wanting to contract on the 4th as well. So I think the sooner dates like that can be determined, then your committee can go ahead and so can we, and so can the POA.
That's a good point. Great idea. It's a really good point, yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that up, and for other groups thinking of other activities and things going on. So I don't know who makes that final decision, whether HELNAC does or whether the POA or we do it in conjunction, but.
I think you propose it to the board, and then the board agrees or disagrees.
Please accept our proposal. Saturday, June 27th, not the 4th of July. It'll be the Saturday before that.
Let's get you on an agenda so we can make it an official announcement. Thank you, Jan.
Yep.
Yes?
Ryan Tower, 209 Gettysburg. Whose terms are up for re-election?
Mine is, and I believe Paul. The 3rd seat was vacated by Ron Reagan's resignation earlier this year.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ken Hoops, 150 Gettysburg. Couple things. One is, it was 60 for a boat, 30 for a camper, 30 for a slip is the increase. I'm just wondering, why is it not consistent related to the cost of the product, like a percentage increase? So a boat is $250, we're gonna bring it up 20%, we're gonna bring camping up 20%, we're gonna bring slips up 20%, so that's consistent across the board, so we're not pigeonholing one area, and I'm guessing that's because there's 1,100 boats. Secondly, the last time a increase in boats occurred, and Lois may have the exact number, we went from, we had, at a record time, boat registration was about $52. And I think we had 1,200, that was one of the record years, 1,200 boats, 1,190, 1,180, something like that. When we did when the boat slips were put in, the boat user fees were the only way to, it's boat slips, boats, are you gonna use it? So it went to $250. And we lost 400 boats that next year. So we were down to 700, if my memory serves. Does that sound
pretty close?
Pretty close. So make sure you're budgeting that into your information, because a lot of people will get a knee-jerk reaction and they'll say, all right, I'm only gonna register my first boat, not my second, not my third, not my fourth, which is gonna take your numbers so that now your 4-year program, 3-year program becomes a 6-year program possibly for reimbursement. One thing that was brought up in discussion was the first boat is the $300 and some, $310. The second boat is $250. Third boat is $250. You know, you're getting hit with one boat. So now you're scaling it back to 1,000 boats or 1,100 boats. So now you're at 60,000. You know, instead of 600,000 possibly. Anyway, those are all things that have been looked at. Related to eyes in the boat, I was not at the meeting for Ken. I think the people that will
sign up first will be the ones who are the infraction people. So I would think that they want to get on good terms to be able to go out and now be on a name basis with. No, I mean, the guys who break the rules are going to be the ones who, yeah, I'll volunteer so I can get to talk to them and maybe get out of jail free.
That may not be a bad thing. That's an
And
education.
then the other thing I want to challenge everyone to do on the board, please, read the lake rule book. If you have not read the lake rule, just please study it, because it has infractions. It has days kicked off the lake. It has a first level, a second level, a third level. Everything that you have asked us to do in the past from the Lake Committee is in the book, and it's got some teeth. We've made it have some teeth. Now, whether the bite takes place is out of our control. That's what Ken and his team get to do, because they're out there every day monitoring, and they have their finger on the pulse of what's going on. But we've given them the ability to say, if this is a recurring guy or recurring boat, after 2, they're gone for a while. After 3, they're really gone. It's the whole season. So the teeth are there, but but I get it, because they're also out there every day dealing with the same people. So at some point, you got to kind of back off and say, okay, they're just having fun. I get it. And that's what happens sometimes. I mean, does everybody have enough life jackets on their boat for everybody on board? I don't know. Do they have a throw cushion? I don't know. Do they have their battery covered like the state requires us to have? I don't know. Are we doing live well checks? I don't know. But all that can happen if we want to do it. But when we start doing it that way, you might want to have something with the teeth that would increase your fee. That's your opportunity to get some revenue.
You mean fines?
A fine for violating the rules of the lake. Who cares whether it's the first one, second one, third one? Keep violating, here's your ticket. So something to consider. Another thing, if you're talking about user fees, and the user fees for boaters, campers, slips, it seems like it'd be much more monetarily economical to just have a POA user fee.
You can't do it by covenant.
It's not a covenant thing. It's a POA user fee.
Try that.
I'm just saying.
You don't know what the incoming border will be.
No, but I know you're talking.
It will be
3,000
relentless,
lots
and it can be
versus
challenged.
1,100 boats.
Yeah, about $60 annually, if we had a temporary charge to all would buy the marina.
It'd be done.
Right.
I get it.
But it doesn't work that way, because we can't do that to the general community.
And then there's always been discussion of launch fees. You know, we paid for a launch, $30,000 in concrete.
That's worth talking about.
But who's going to monitor that? You know?
No, that apply to, so the off-lake people would have to pay more.
Everybody would have to pay.
I get the phone calls.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's what happens at other lakes. You know, you go to other lakes, and all of a sudden you're getting a $25 launch fee on the weekend, you get a $10 launch fee through the week. I don't know how many boats we launch a weekend out here, but I see the parking lot's probably got 50 boats, trailers, so $500 a weekend day, it's $1,000. I mean,
There's a lot of opportunities out there, Ken. You propose a lot of really good ideas. It's just a matter of what we can do with what we've got now. Jim?
Can we talk sometime about this? Your ideas?
My people call your people?
Yeah, one of those days.
Because I don't think we're opposed to any of that. It's just a matter of what we do, when we do it. We see if what we've proposed gets us what we need or gets us close, or if it's not working at all, then we have to explore other opportunities for sure. I think that this is a great start as far as seeing what can happen. And then, again, if it doesn't work, then it's something that we would be forced to have to look at again.
We used to have financial tickets. When you were issued a citation ticket, whatever on the water, it was a financial commitment.
How long ago was that?
15 years. 15 years. We had a lawsuit that changed things.
The council tells us we can't do it. Now, just so everybody on board knows, I said that I would communicate with council regarding, because we have new council now. I buried it in a complicated email about covenants, and he missed it, and I missed it. So I gotta send it back to him and ask a specific question. We have new counsel that might have a different point of view.
So I'm just thinking that if you go to, if you're having, I'm just, from the percentage standpoint on your user fee program, if I'm renting a spot at Bob Rodez's place, and it's a 10 by 20 spot that he's giving you for free, my cost is $70 a month. Well, if I say I'm gonna put a boat in there, all of a sudden it's $100 a month. But it's the same space. That's kind of where I'm going with the boaters are being penalized. But we're also the ones who use the asset, so
Yeah.
I'm just bringing it up for discussion.
Thank you, Ken. Sir?
Curtis Talbot, 309 Gettysburg. I think you guys have got the wrong impression about what our accountants say we can and can't do, such as your using of increasing. For instance, you could have a special assessment and a vote on special on your marina. This is really the right way you should have done this. The marina and a special assessment to go with it, or your boat fees increases, those various increases. You should add separate votes on those items, and you should have used a quorum to do so. Now, you tell us how terribly expensive that is, but compared to a $1.1 million marina, I think it's a lot cheaper. And besides that, you really need the approval of the people to go forward with this thing, or you're gonna find yourself in a lot of trouble. The marina I'm talking about, you should have a quorum vote. Yes, you have to send out a ballot to everybody. You don't have to use electronics, which just adds a lot more cost, but you could add that as well. And you would have to do it probably 3 times, and it is 60%. Tom can look this up. You look it up in the covenants, you'll find out what the quorum is. It's not 50%, it is 60%, which makes it a little bit harder. But by about the 3rd time around, you could get enough people to vote to find out whether the community would have approved of it or not. And you could do it for those 3 items at the same time. You could go for your increase a special assessment to pay for. You could go for the marina, and you could also go for increases in fees. And you could do all 3, and you would get the approval or disapproval of the people. But this way, what you're doing is you're going behind their backs, and you're saying we don't trust them, and you're blaming it all on the covenants, which have nothing to do with it. It has to do with you being willing to follow the right process. And I'm not so sure that your new covenants themselves won't have to be changed again before you can really do much of anything. And I believe that you've got a contradiction within your covenants that wouldn't even allow you to change them for 20 years. And of course that would be illegal, because that's the whole argument you're using now for changing them, is that you can't change them.
Thank you, Curtis. Anybody else? If not, I will
I
take
make
a
a
motion.
motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Have you ever had a note on a motion?
Never, ever.
Has anybody ever want to